Folks, I can't believe I got this far behind on Kamen Rider Build. I'm ashamed of myself. It is another episode of DenziNow. I am Mike, and today we're going to be looking at episodes 25 through 28 of Kamen Rider Build. We're playing a wee bit of catch-up here. You will notice a couple of changes. For one, hey, look, Ma, no phone for a camera on this episode. I'm testing some new software and a new camera, so if things are not quite visually what we usually deliver, I'm sorry, we're just testing some new equipment. But hopefully it works, because this is much handier than having my laptop in my lap, literally, as I consult my notes. So, the episodes, for those keeping score at home. Episode 25, The Idol Awakens. Episode 26, The Treacherous Deathmatch. Episode 27, The Counterattack Hero. And episode 28, The Genius Arrives with a Tank. So, it's been a little bit of time since we've done a DenziNow, so just a reminder, I try not to go too in-depth with the synopses and whatnot, just because hopefully you've watched the episodes, or you can Wikipedia or search Google. You can find the synopses as you go through. By the way, new set. So, real quick shout out. I want to thank 8-Star Anime's host Chris Brown. I just celebrated my 37th birthday, if you can believe that. I'm getting old. But he got me this really cool Power Rangers print that you see behind us on the wall now. So, thank you so very much, Chris. I really appreciate it. It looks pretty sweet on the wall. So, what are we looking at here out of these episodes? Really quick, the Idol Awakens. We essentially have the rest of the battle with Kamen Rider Rogue, who debuts in episode 24, and bottom line is they are woefully outmatched. There's a battle at the Skywall, and Misora, or Mitan, if you like the way Greece constantly refers to her by her idol name, basically shows up, completely wigged out, glowing green eyes, puts her hand out, not quite like Dusty Rhodes, my hand to your hand, for the wrestling fans in the audience, but extends her hand, specifically the one that has, they call it a bangle, but her bracelet, on it, and more or less dissolves part of the skywall and throws him and his crew through it. So there's something strange going on in this little piece of business here. There's a bit of a mystery of Misora that we're going to start exploring, which I think is pretty cool. When we move on to episode 26, The Treacherous Deathmatch, basically what we find out is that Sato, which has now declared war, they have absorbed Hokuto and have now declared war on Toto. They are proposing a proxy battle of their respective riders slash minions, we will say, because the previous proxy battle, which we are seeing in this series as a means to have these wars and conflicts settled in a really quick and expedient fashion, without having to show, large-scale battlefield stuff. We had Kamen Rider Grease versus Kamen Rider Build in a proxy battle between Hokuto and Toto. Here, it is proposed to be a 3-on-3 battle, 3 1-on-1 matches, best 2 out of 3 wins. So, in this particular case, it will be Kamen Riders Build, Cross Z, and Grease, who has vowed to assist Kiryu and his allies in Toto against these traitorous individuals, not the least of which is Rogue, formerly Night Rogue. But now, Night Rogue has the Washio brothers, and I'm probably horribly mispronouncing that, but basically um, two more characters who have powers not unlike uh, Bloodstark and Night Rogue had. They use the term in here Kaiser, so that's how I'm going to start referring to those as a whole. In these 4 episodes, where we are exposed to that term, Kaiser forms. So if I'm not, if it should be a specific character, because they do a flashback in one of these episodes where we see the two Washao brothers forms, because I believe it's Engine Form and Gear Form, or Engine Bro and Gear Bro. Together they are the Hell Bros. We see one of them use both sets of powers simultaneously and form Hell Bros form, and it is apparently a repaint of Kaiser, who I assume is from a movie or special that I haven't seen yet, which is odd. Truthfully, normally the Kamen Rider TV shows leave a lot of that material out. So if they are putting that in here, then hey, that might be something worth looking at. And they even mention here, the notes I have, that in Kamen Rider Build, raising the hazard level 7 best matches, that we briefly see this form. That's where the Hellbro form debuts. We do wind up seeing a couple of battles. We see one battle through to its conclusion, which is Grease versus the first of the Hell Bros, which I think was Engine Bro. And then we see what will be the battle between Cross Z and Hell Bro actually begin. So, and in fact, I'm looking here. Yeah. So, long and short, out of these, we find out that there is a spy in the midst of our heroes that has given Sato inside information about the upgrades that Sento is making to build, and trying to find a way to control Hazard. That's one thing we do see in episode 25, is we see Hazard fight Rogue, lose his shit again, and this time he almost kills Misora in the process. But Misora is actually able to control Hazard and sort of snap him out of it, which is something that previously only a very heavy physical attack has managed to do. Episode 27, The Counterattack Hero, we see the Hellbro form in all of its glory. We see that the Hellbro form is realistically either on par or weaker than Cross Z. And in this episode, Cross Z, after Grease defeats the first of the Engine Bros, then we have, or defeats Engine Bros, rather, we have Cross Z fighting Hell Bros and basically gets duped. Poor Cross Z. He is conned into thinking that if he defeats Hell Bros, that the other Washao brother will be killed, that the Seto government has him captured, they have him under guard, and they will execute him if Banjo basically doesn't throw the fight, which he does. God bless him. So that's pretty much that. They sold it pretty well in the episode, but we'll get to that in my likes and dislikes. But lots of treachery. Treachery is the theme of the episode. We get more and more that we have a traitor in our midst. There is a spy. They've played on this through a couple of episodes now. They find a bug in a previous episode actually in the Dragon Full bottle. So there you have it. And the episode Also, we see the debut, by the time all is said and done, of Rabbit form, which is Build's next form. And it's a very unique thing here. I'm going to discuss that in depth, the different forms we see, because I've got thoughts. Episode 28 is The Genius Arrives with a Tank, and all of these episodes, as Build does in general, really kind of go one into the other as a continuous story, and these three are one arc in this three-story arc, or three-episode arc, that are very succinct. Here, we see that the data from Rabbit has been uploaded into Rogue's Sklosh driver, that Rogue has everything he needs to beat Build's Rabbit form, this upgrade to Hazard form that allows him to have all of Hazard's power and none of the drawbacks, presumably. But in turn, winds up initially taking a whooping from from the Rabbit form, but then ends up having his number and basically pounds him through most of the next episode, because we do find out in episode 28 that the reason that Sawa betrayed their trust and so on, she is one of Namba Heavy Industries' children. We'll talk about that a little bit in a minute too, because that's an interesting concept. Namba Heavy Industry, a bunch of assholes. But she's one of their children, and she, not out of a sense of loyalty by the time all is said and done, but because they have threatened Nabashima, who is a character we saw earlier in the series. They threatened him and his family. And so she has done this with Sento's consent in order to save that family. We actually do see in earlier episodes Grease on the phone going, okay, what's the plan, this, and this. We never actually see him go fight and save everybody, but we do see the aftermath of him getting everyone out. Sawa gives the high sign, yo, we're good, take this punk out. The debut of Tank form, and away we go, off to the races. Can't beat a form that you don't have data on, apparently. So, let's talk about likes and dislikes and things like that in these episodes. First things first, I really enjoyed the episodes. I thought they were continuing to be very well done, continuing to tell the story at a very good pace. This pretty much concludes what I feel like is probably the second or third arc of the series. If you consider the first arc to basically be the introduction of our characters, and the second arc to be the war with basically Arc 1 goes up to the beginning of the Rider War, and then the Rider War Arc 1, so sort of the second arc, Rider War Part 1, I guess we'll call it, would be Hokuto versus Toto. And then this is Part 3. So this is pretty definitely, in my mind, the end of the third arc. And at this point, we can really trace our story through Rogue. From his rise to power as the eventual Prime Minister, to his downfall during the Rider War, to his ascent as Kamen Rider Rogue. And now what is going to be the next thing that we see out of him, because this is now the second arc in a row where we've seen him not quite drug off, but defeated and so on. So out of these 4 episodes, I will say they're not my favorite episodes of the series. We get some of the really cool dramatic moments that I'm really digging out of the show, especially with the death of the last of the 3 crows of Hokuto, which is saddening to me, but the last of the 3 crows bites the big one in a daring plan to unveil a spy inside the Toto government. He gets killed by Rogue during the episode, and that's episode 25. It's a touching piece of business. It's sort of furthering Grease's story. Um, I'm not seeing anything yet long term out of Grease on account of this. We do see them with the suggestion, from our last crow saying, "Let's take the dog tags of our companions to the skywall and bury them in lieu of their bones." And you kind of you do see a burial, or at least a marker being placed at the end of the episode by Grease, and Cross Z comes to him and says, "Okay, we've grieved, now we train," sort of thing, to get ready for this proxy battle. Um, but the dog tags are still with Grease throughout, and Grease's motivation hasn't really changed. It is still taking care of the family and friends of his allies and his friends in the Three Crows. So I don't know if I was expecting more of a bloody vengeance kind of feel out of him, and maybe that's coming. Um, I feel like an ultimate battle between Grease and Rogue would not be out of place by the time all is said and done, but we'll have to see. Um, Cross Z in this batch of episodes, I feel like they've made him progressively dumber, uh, which I don't like. Um, he has been in previous episodes sort of the streetwise to Build's textbook genius to his scientist. Um, and you have this potentially interesting dynamic now with the three riders, each of them presenting their own type of intelligence in different ways, with Build as a scientist and the streetwise Cross Z, and then Grease as your soldier, really. And they haven't done that. If anything, here we have seen Cross Z be downright gullible, and there's a part of me that sits there and has to think, if you just saw one of the brothers fight and he lost, what makes you think that they're going to kill one of their strongest weapons in order to motivate this other guy, who apparently, at least on a physical level, can't beat you? So I find it dubious. To me, there should have been another way. So I'm not digging the treatment of Cross Z here, and I really hope that they do not take him from being the streetwise secondary rider and sort of relegate him to some other role in the series. Speaking of that relegation, the series is sort of becoming increasingly self-aware in certain regards, with Cross Z even saying at one point, as he's winning his fight initially in episode 27, says, "I'm the hero." And then later in the episode, after he loses and they discuss why and so on with Misora and Build, Build says, "Well, that's awesome, because you, as the sub-character, as this sub-hero of the team, the sidekick, have set this up perfectly for me as the hero to come in and save the day." That's incredibly self-aware for this show, and seemed woefully out of place, to be honest with you. And then when you also throw in some of the wacky sound effects that we got out of these episodes, I know that the belts doing a jingle or making some kind of racket now has been around for a decade plus in this era of Kamen Rider. I mean, realistically, backtrack that all the way to Ryuki, with the announcement of the different vents out of the Ryuki decks. If you've never seen Kamen Rider Ryuki, awesome series, go find it. But they're getting increasingly dumb in this series, and it's starting to bother me a little bit. The bottles have grown on me. I've seen Stranger. What is essentially one really long bottle that folds down to fit into the two slots on the belt for Build. When he shakes it, sounds kind of like a slide whistle. And I was like, that's a bit jarring. Now, that said, the action in this, that's pretty much the bulk of my complaints for these episodes. The action here, though, is pretty good. I do like the idea of the proxy fight. I think this is a really cool piece of storytelling. Um, you know there's a war going on. You also know that they're never going to show you this war on a TV show budget for what you get in a Kamen Rider series. So they have to come up with a way of resolving these wars without showing hundreds of troops or thousands of troops, man and material on a battlefield going at it. These proxy fights are a really cool way of doing that and really are harken back to a very cultural tone in Japan with the battles of samurai in days gone by, where rather than being wasteful and consuming their armies, you would have someone go out and challenge the strongest opponent to a duel, and it's sort of that romanticized samurai vibe. I really like that. I think they treat it well. I think 3 consecutive episodes of it might be a bit much. Because they split this up over 3 episodes, 3 1-on-1 fights, 3 episodes. But they paced it in the individual episodes fairly well, interspersing it with story and flashback and what have you. So I'm okay with it. Not burdensome. It was not slogging through like I've done with some other series that I've watched. The new toys, the new costumes, Rabbit Rabbit and Tank form. For want of a better term, because I just don't like. I'm going to call it Hazard Rabbit and Hazard Tank during my discussions here, because that's basically what it is. It's the Hazard form with additional armor. Visually, to me, when you see him don the armor, which is done entirely in CG, and rather dodgy CG at that. Come on, Toei, y'all have done better. In this series, you've done better. It looks almost like a Battleizer from Power Rangers, the sequence where he puts it on. So I found that amusing, but that's what it immediately put me in the mind of. But the Hazard Rabbit form is set up in such a way and treated in such a way that it is, in this case, it's the mid-season super form, which we're getting a lot of those in this series. It's almost as if he gets a new best form per arc. Which might pretty much be the case, because he got the Sparking form during the last arc, and now he's got this one. And Sparking, then Hazard, then this. So, yeah. But with this form, it's treated and presented as this ultimate badass thing. For 1 episode, and then the next episode, it straight jobs to Rogue. Now, yes, Rogue had inside intel, but that was really weird, and I really actually liked it. It is very much a subversion of the trope, where you gain a super form and you use it, it's badass for like 4 or 5 episodes, and nothing can stop it, and no one can stop it. In one fight, 2 episodes, but one fight, Rabbit does the job. However, it is basically just long enough for our heroes on the side to do their thing, and then have Tank form show up and wreck shop. Tank's form's final attack, by the way, is goofy as hell, where basically Build turns into a gun tank from Gundam, is what it amounts to. And it's just bizarre. But I do really like the looks of the costumes, and it's really cool. And they both have sort of this split cape-looking thing. The rabbit ears for rabbit form kind of trail off behind like 2 thin strip ribbon cape things, and then the tank treads for Tank do the same thing. Almost looks like double scarves coming off. So kind of put me in the mind of the old school Kamen Riders from the Showa era and such, or even Kamen Rider Double, who's still one of my all-time favorite Heisei riders, and depending on the day, might be my favorite. I liked Sawa's story. I liked that they're delving into Misora's story. Everybody got their story moments in these in this batch episodes. Dig that. The music, pretty good, could be better. But not obtrusive, thank goodness. All in all, a good set of episodes, not my favorite, and there are flaws. The big finale to this, Namba Heavy Industries, and this is the big takeaway for the whole thing. Here's your bad guys, folks. If you had doubts, if you thought that Namba Heavy Industries were the vehicle for someone else, and I thought on some level that Namba Heavy Industries was like the vehicle for Rogue. They pretty well defined now. Rogue is the rival character. If you're putting this in the context of other Kamen Rider shows, Rogue is probably closer to Kaiza in Fives, where I suspect he will come around and be an ally at some point. But it's more of him being the arch rival. I would say it's Gaim and Baron, but Baron does end up being a more antagonistic character when all is said and done. But it's that kind of dynamic. I don't think Rogue is the big bad. That's freaking Namba Heavy Industries, because here, Namba, we find out that he basically has found all these kids, Namba's children, brainwashed them, raised them, trained them, all with specific skills to be loyal to him until death. And when they're caught, they kill themselves. If they are a straight up sleeper agent kind of stuff in some cases, is the vibe you get. Sawa is one of these, but we see how fanatical they can be when they track down the traitor in an earlier episode, the one that planted the bug and it was planted in the government, who straight kills himself. So, and then by the end, when everything goes south and the Sato Prime Minister says, "Do you not understand what has happened here? I have to restore Hokuto. I have to share the Pandora's box with everyone, with all three governments, and I have to withdraw my troops from Toto." And Namba says, "No, you don't." He goes, "Yes, I do. These are promises. I made these three promises." And Namba looks at him and straight says, "Well, then break your promises." That's a big thing here, because again, we do have to take a certain cultural mindset here. Your word and your honor is everything in a lot of societies and a lot of cultures, and historically in Japan, and they still put a lot of stock in keeping your word and being a man of your word and having a sense of honor, being a woman of your word, and so on. So the fact that he is telling a prime minister who has made an agreement, this is what's what, and break your word, break your promise. He's the bad guy. And when the prime minister says no, he goes, "Well, I knew you didn't have the cojones to do this. Guess you're not the man for the job." "Well, then who is?" "Me." And he has Bloodstark come in, straight kill the prime minister, and then change Namba's appearance so that Namba can now be the prime minister of Seto, and escalate this war to levels yet unseen. And we end the episode, the final episode here, 28, with seeing a mass army of what I'm guessing are androids, but have this, or robots, but have this very Rider-like looking appearance, but basically armored combat soldiers, whether they're robotic or men in armor or what have you. Namba has an army, and he's not afraid to use it at this point. Bloodstark, his role in all this is that of the master manipulator. He's giving just enough information to the good guys to be useful to them, but he's still hanging tight with our villains, and that's who he actually works for. So he's playing both sides here. Interesting dynamic. Let's see what comes of it. And I love the idea that we see in one of these episodes here where things are happening off screen. I really do enjoy that. The world does not stop working, so just because you don't see it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. And here where we have the instance of Grease being told, "Okay, is this where I'm going to, this is what you're going to pay me for this." He does all this. He goes and saves Nabashiba's family, by the way, for Sawa, so that just for a handshake ticket, so he can shake hands with his idol Nitan. But yeah, that we see everything set up. And then we go away, and when we come back to it, we see all the bad guys laid out, and the family's safe, and him going, really? This is, you sent just me? And basically just complete and utter shock that you get the sense of this was too easy kind of thing. So yeah, still a whole lot to love about this series. There's some things here I hope to never see them do again. I can do without the slide whistle noises. I can deal without some of the really shoddy looking CG. We have not delved into the incomplete CG that was used in the first episode of Double yet, but still it looked really bad. Even by Toei standards for Kamen Rider or Super Sentai, it looked really bad. But the story right now is why I'm here, and the story keeps rolling on, and next episode is the beginning of another chapter, and it is going to be the escalation of this conflict as we move into the second half of Kamen Rider Build. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I hope you guys are enjoying Kamen Rider Build. It is a fantastic series. I've said before, this show right now can make a really strong argument for being the best of the Heisei era Kamen Rider shows. If it's not, it's in the discussion, and I pretty much stick to that. I don't know right now, after these 4 episodes, if I still think it's the best, but to me right now, this show is up there with the Gaims and the Doubles, and the Denos of the world, and those are sort of and the Agitos, those are sort of my upper echelons, and maybe even Ryuki in there, but it's just damn good. It's worth watching, in my opinion. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't worry, there'll be another episode of this coming real quick, excuse me, of DenziNow, because as I record this, I think episode 32 is about to come out, so I've got another 4 to watch, and another 4 for you guys to see. Also, I did promise that we were going to do Lupin Ranger versus Pato Ranger here on DenziNow, and we are, but I might not be alone for it. Stay tuned. Either at least the beginning of it, the first episode where we talk about it here, either it will be me by myself, and then there will be an accompanying episode of DenziCaster without me, where our cast discusses the first few episodes, just like I do on DenziNow. Or we may do a DenziNow where it's me and friends, rather than just me talking about the first few episodes of Lupin Ranger versus Pato Ranger, the newest installment in the Super Sentai series. One final piece of business that I'm actually really excited about. As of the time I'm recording this, which is April 25th, 2018, we now have 125 subscribers here on Geek Carolina, and I said at 125, we were going to do a giveaway here on DenziCaster and Denzi Blitz and DenziNow, and we will. So, what you guys need to do, if you want the details on our first ever DenziCaster subscriber giveaway for hitting a milestone here on the channel, then you need to tune in to our next DenziCaster episode, which will air next week. Don't know exactly what we're watching yet. It's probably going to have Johnny Sacco somehow involved. But check it out. Watch that episode for details on how to win a DVD set from us here. We're going to be giving away, it's out of reach here, I can't grab it, and I don't want to walk off camera to get it because it makes horrible video. But we're going to be giving away Season 1, Volume 1 of Ultraman, the original series from the 1960s. This is the DVD set, I believe, from Mill Creek. And we're giving that away in honor of Super Ride Productions finally winning total control of Ultraman once again worldwide. You want details on that? There's a neat little write-up on it over at tokunation.com. Go check it out. So, folks, until next time, if you liked the video, please give us a thumbs up. If you didn't, give us a thumbs down. Either way, let us know why in the comments below. And let us know what you're thinking of Kamen Rider Build thus far. Is it one of the best Heisei Rider series of all time? Or am I just full of it? Or is it somewhere in the middle? Let me know in the notes down below. in the comments. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. We're going to do another special subscriber deal, probably. I think we're probably going to do it when we hit 200 subscribers. It'll probably be when we do our next giveaway for DenziCaster. So that may be a little whiles off. Then again, it might be sooner than you think. We need 75 more people before we do that. But definitely do please hit that subscribe button, tell your friends, tell your buddies, and all that good stuff. And if you want to help us out here at Geek Carolina, maybe pick up a cool t-shirt like the one I'm wearing, or a neat hat, what have you, you can do that by going over to cafepress.com/geekcarolina and picking up yourself one of our cool t-shirts. We're in the process of setting up a brand new store. We'll still have the Cafe Press store up for those who like Cafe Press, but we're in the process of setting up another store online and putting up a whole bunch of new designs, including a Johnny Sacco inspired shirt for all of our Johnny Sacco and his flying robot fans, and a shirt inspired by Kamen Rider Build. So check all that out too. So folks, until next time, I'm Mike. We'll see you around.